Hey guys, if you get frustrated when you see the move g6 followed by bishop g7, or maybe you don't get frustrated, you just don't really know what to do when your opponent fianchettos their bishop, or maybe they fianchetto it on this side, this video is for you. I'm going to share with you 4 strategies that you can use to destroy this setup and to get into some great positions. And once you learn these, you're gonna have no problem getting into some really nice positions. Let's get started. All right, so strategy number 1 against the bishop fianchetto is to trade off the bishop. You know, one of the reasons why this setup is so annoying is because that bishop just sits back there. It's kind of hard to get to it. It's constantly putting pressure on the center of the board. And sometimes, if this pawn gets traded or it gets moved, and then it can come down here and it can take your rook and it can put you in check. But if you trade off the bishop, you don't have to worry about it. And actually, once you trade it off, this move g6 that black played now creates weaknesses along these dark squares. So the question is, how do we trade it off? I'm going to show you exactly how, a very simple way to do that. You develop your pieces in this setup. Queen to d2 and bishop to e3. The rest of the moves can be different, or they could be the same. You don't have to do this f3 idea. I like to do it because it kind of defends our bishop from the knight coming in. And this is a good place for the knight, but your other pieces could be other places. The important thing is the queen is on d2, the bishop is on e3, and then you simply go down to h6 and you trade it off. And the nice thing about this is if black tries to avoid your trade, well, then you're able to take the rook, which is a nice trade. And if they take you, of course, you take it with the queen. And now your queen is infiltrating, and you can see how these squares are weak because you have eliminated that bishop. Relatively straightforward, and this is a powerful weapon to get rid of the bishop and ultimately destroy this fianchetto setup. All right, strategies number 2 and 3 are similar, but there is a subtle difference which I want to point out. But these strategies both revolve around blunting the bishop along this diagonal. So as an example, if I were to play the move c3, notice how I'm creating this pawn chain. All the pawns are defended. The bishop is not nearly as effective as it would like to be, because if it ever tries to take here, well, I'm just going to take it back with a pawn. So an easy way is to just push that pawn forward, and we have blunted the bishop. Now, this third strategy is just to do the exact same thing, except in a more aggressive way, and it would look something like this. You would play the move f4, and then at the right moment, you would play e5. And notice, again, we're creating this pawn chain, but it's further advanced, and it's even more annoying if you can pull it off, because now the bishop is really ineffective, right, and not doing much. And if black takes and trades, you don't really care. The knight has to move, and the bishop's not going to be doing much because you've got it defended. Now, I want to point out something very important here, so don't go anywhere. A lot of people will try to do the same thing, except instead of playing f4, they'll bring their knight out like this, and then they'll push the pawn. This is very different because you don't have as many pawns supporting your e5 push. And now you have to watch out for this little trick where black hops the knight over to g4, and that annoying bishop now is actually attacking you. You could try to defend. They're going to keep attacking, maybe knight c6, maybe knight d7, and you have to watch out that the pressure doesn't get too much, okay? So in my opinion is, if you're going to go that route, think about getting all 3 pawns and then push forward. It's going to be much more effective at blunting that bishop. All right, the next strategy for attacking the fianchetto bishop is by using Harry the H pawn. So if you don't know, this is Harry, and we can just start pushing him. And one of the things that g6 does is it gives us what's called a hook. A hook is a way that we can attack and trade off a pawn early because it's been pushed forward. And the reason we might want to do that is a lot of the times when people are fianchettoing their bishop, they usually will castle along that side. And this is a good way to attack the king by going here, trading this off, and opening up our rook. And even if they don't castle, they just play some other moves, this is still a good way to put a lot of pressure on what your opponent is trying to do. And by the way, if they just ignore you, you can actually push it all the way to h6 and make that bishop go back home. And this is really annoying for black, because what are they going to do now? They can't go here. They can't castle. The rook is basically stuck in the corner because the bishop's blocking it. Your pawn is sitting there, and it's very well defended. It's not easy for your opponent to take it. Even if they were to go here to try to attack it, it's still defended. And so this is a super easy thing to do, which is going to massively disrupt what your opponent is trying to do. Okay, and so remember this, you can do the same thing on this side of the board with the A pawn as well, and it's very difficult for your opponent to figure out how to handle it. Right, now that you know the 4 strategies, I want to show you a practical example, a game that Bobby Fischer played against the Fianchetto setup. Now, Bobby Fischer was arguably one of the best chess players to ever play the game of chess, and we're going to see exactly how he approached this. So here's the opening. We had a Scandinavian where the opponent decided to just play g6 and play bishop g7, and watch what Bobby Fischer does. The very first thing he does, almost immediately, bishop to f4, queen to d2. Do you notice something? This is exactly what I mentioned, the battery where we go down there and trade off that bishop. Okay, and he doesn't waste any time. So black plays knight to f6, and if you're wondering why didn't black take this pawn, there's actually a little tactic here. Takes, and the knight can hop into d5, threatening this fork, and it's very difficult for black to prevent that. They would have to do something like bishop to b6, but then the bishop is going to take, and black actually gets into trouble. So it's a clever little way to not even worry about defending the pawn on d4. So knight to f6 is played, castles, c6, bishop to h6, exactly what I was mentioning. He's going to trade that bishop off. Once the bishop is gone, you don't have to worry about any more threats along the long diagonal, and these are weak squares because the bishop is no longer going to be defending them. Black tries to castle, and now Fischer plays h4. Harry the h-pawn, here we go. Notice how he's combining some of the strategies that I mentioned. He went for this one first, and now he's going for the h-pawn, and it makes sense. He's castled over here. What black is castled here, he wants to attack the king with his rook. This is the way to do it. So black plays queen a5, and here we go. Harry keeps going, h5. Captures, and bishop to d3. So now that this pawn is gone, this diagonal becomes available, and so he puts the bishop on d3, increasing the pressure on black's king. Black develops, rook comes over, and g4. Now, why is Fischer playing g4 when there's 2 ways that this pawn can be captured? The short answer is he doesn't care about this pawn. He actually doesn't want the pawn. He wants the pawn to be gone so that his rook can come over, and now both rooks can be involved in attacking the king, because right now rooks can't go through pawns. So unless you get rid of that pawn, your rook's not going to do anything, right? So he says, take it. I don't want that pawn. I want to use my rook to checkmate your king, right? It's more important than a pawn. Black says, no, thank you. I don't want anything to do with that pawn. Goes back to f8. He takes this. Harry's back, and now the g-file is open, and black's king is ready to get checkmated. And notice how the Fianchetto setup has completely fallen apart here because of what Fischer has done. So knight comes over, rook comes over. He's got an immediate threat here. King steps to the side to get out of the pin. The queen comes down. We have a checkmate threat on g7. And this is not the way the game is supposed to be going if you're playing as black with the Fianchetto setup, right? So we can see Fischer's already doing an amazing job. He brings the rook up. This is called a rook lift. He's getting ready to double up rooks and continue piling on the pressure. Brings the rook over. Black makes a blunder here. This just loses a piece. And after this, the game was over. Black resigned. So very, very straightforward, simple attacking ideas. And he just used some of those strategies in a combination. Line up the battery, bring it down, push Harry the h-pawn, and keep attacking, going for the king, and there you go. That's how to destroy the Fianchetto setup. I hope you guys learned something from this video. I'll see you next time. Stay sharp, play smart, and take care.